Welcome to Chosen Light, Chosen One. Have you ever felt God's hand reach down to pull you forward, only to watch yourself freeze in terror? Have you ever heard heaven's door creak open for you, and then slammed it shut with your own hesitation? Have you ever been this close to your breakthrough, only to discover that your greatest enemy wasn't the devil? It was your own delay. There are moments in life when hesitation is more dangerous than failure. This is one of them. Right now, as you're watching this, you're standing at the edge of your Red Sea. The waters are parted, the path is clear. But I need to tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. Every second you wait, those waters are starting to close. You see, God showed me something last night that made my blood run cold. He showed me the graveyard of delayed destinies, row after row of tombstones with the same inscription. They almost made it. They were so close. They had everything they needed, except the courage to step. This is your Jordan River moment, beloved. Just like Joshua, you're being commanded to step into waters that look impossible. But here's what Joshua knew that you're forgetting. The miracle doesn't happen until your foot touches the water. Before I tell you the final step you must take, the one step that will either release every blessing heaven has been holding for you or lock it away forever, I need you to hear the one thing God whispered to me about you, the one thing that could change everything or cost you everything. And listen, thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead. But right now, if you feel this burning in your spirit, if you know this word is for you, drop "I'm ready" in the comments. Say it out loud. Declare it into the atmosphere. Because what I'm about to reveal will separate the chosen from the comfortable, and time is running out. The window is closing. Step now, or lose everything. Listen to me, chosen one. Are you tired of being tired? Are you sick of watching other people walk into the very blessings you've been praying for? Are you done with being stuck in the same place, year after year, wondering why God's promises seem to work for everyone else but you? I'm going to tell you something that's going to cut deep, but it's going to set you free. The reason you're still circling the same mountain isn't because God forgot about you. It's not because you're not worthy. It's not because the devil is too strong. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you. All he has to do is keep you waiting. Think about that. Satan's most effective weapon against the chosen isn't temptation, it's hesitation. He doesn't have to make you sin, he just has to make you stall. He doesn't need to defeat you, he just needs to delay you. Right now, there's a door with your name on it. But every day you wait, every week you hesitate, every month you say, "I'm not ready yet." That door is rusting, the hinges are getting stiffer, the lock is getting harder to turn. And one day, you're going to reach for that handle, and it's going to be corroded shut. I've seen it happen. I've watched people with million-dollar dreams let them rot in the field because they were waiting for perfect conditions. The harvest was ready, the fruit was ripe. But they said, maybe next season, maybe when I feel more prepared, maybe when the timing is better. The timing is never going to feel perfect. That's the point. You want to know why the Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years? It wasn't because God was punishing them. It was because they kept saying, "We're not ready. The giants are too big. The walls are too high. Let's wait until we're stronger." 40 years, beloved. 40 years of circling the same wilderness because they wouldn't take the step when God said, "Step." An 11-day journey became a 40-year nightmare because they chose comfort over courage. And here's what breaks my heart. Their children had to clean up their mess. The next generation had to finish what their parents were too afraid to start. Think about that. Your delay doesn't just affect you, it affects your children, your grandchildren, your legacy. Every time you say, "not yet," you're not just postponing your breakthrough. You're postponing your bloodline's breakthrough. You're making them pay for your procrastination. Stop robbing your future with your fear. I need you to see this picture clearly. You're standing at Penn Station in New York City. You've got a one-way ticket to your destiny in your hand. The train pulls up right on schedule. The doors slide open. You can see your seat waiting for you. You can smell the leather, feel the air conditioning, hear the whistle about to blow. But instead of stepping on, you start making excuses. What if I'm not dressed right? What if I don't belong in first class? What if the train breaks down? What if? And while you're standing there drowning in doubt, the doors close, the train pulls away, and you're left holding a worthless ticket to nowhere, watching your destiny disappear down the tracks. That's what delay does. It turns your ticket to triumph into a receipt for regret. How many trains have you already missed? How many opportunities have pulled away while you stood frozen on the platform of indecision? God's not going to keep sending the same train forever. Even His patience has limits. Even His grace has seasons. The children of Israel learned this the hard way. When they finally decided they were ready to enter the promised land, guess what? The door was closed. God said, "Too late. You had your chance. Now your children will have to do what you were too afraid to do." Don't let that be your story. I'm telling you right now, the final step isn't optional anymore. It's not a suggestion. It's not advice you can take or leave. It's a divine command with an expiration date. You've been practicing long enough. You've been preparing long enough. You've been praying long enough. The training wheels are coming off. God is saying, "I've equipped you. I've anointed you. I've positioned you. Now, move." You say you trust God, but you won't trust His timing. You say you believe His promises, but you won't believe His promptings. You say you want His will, but you won't follow His way. Partial obedience is complete disobedience. Every day you delay is a day you're saying no to God. Every week you wait is a week you're choosing your fear over His faith. Every month you hesitate is a month you're telling heaven, "I know better than you." The Israelites thought they were being wise. They thought they were being careful. They thought they were being responsible. But God called it rebellion. God called it unbelief. God called it sin. And it cost them everything. Their delay didn't just postpone their blessing. It cancelled their generation's portion. They never saw the promised land. They died with their dreams buried in desert sand because they wouldn't take the step when heaven said, "Step." If you've been circling the same mountain, today is the day to break camp. Say it with me. No more waiting. No more "I'll do it tomorrow." No more "I'll move when I feel ready." No more. Let me pray about it one more time. You've prayed enough. Now it's time to step. But here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. The step you're about to take isn't just going to cost you something. The step you don't take is going to cost you everything. And when I show you exactly what that price is, you're going to understand why God is being so urgent with you right now. My dear friend, I need you to close your eyes for just a moment. Picture yourself 1 year from today. You're sitting in the same chair, staring at the same four walls, carrying the same heavy weight in your chest. Nothing has changed. The dreams are still dreams. The promises are still unfulfilled. The breakthrough you're watching this video for, still just out of reach. Now open your eyes and look at me. What would it cost you to look back 1 year from now and whisper, "I could have had it, but I didn't move"? You see, chosen one, inaction isn't neutral. It's not standing still. It's moving backward while the world moves forward. And I'm about to show you exactly what that movement costs, not just in dollars and cents, but in the currency of your soul. Let me paint you a picture that might make your stomach turn, but it's a picture you need to see. When we delay what God has called us to do, we don't just lose the blessing, we inherit the curse of what could have been. The Israelites learned this the hard way. Numbers 14:28 tells us God said, "As surely as I live, I will do to you the very thing I heard you say." They said they couldn't take the promised land, so God said, "Fine, you can't." 40 years in the wilderness. An entire generation died with their dreams buried in desert sand. How many blessings have you buried in the cemetery of hesitation? Think about it. Really think. That business idea that kept you up at night 3 years ago, where is it now? Someone else is probably living off it. That relationship you were too scared to pursue, they're married to someone else now. That move you were supposed to make, that call you were supposed to answer, that yes you were supposed to give. What happened to all of those moments? Here's what losing everything spiritually looks like. You start questioning if God even speaks to you anymore. The dreams stop coming, the promptings get quieter. Your prayer life becomes a museum of old requests instead of a living conversation with heaven. You start attending church like you're visiting a graveyard, going through the motions of faith while your spirit slowly dies of starvation. Emotionally, you wake up every morning with a weight on your chest that you can't name. It's the weight of unlived life. Your children start asking fewer questions about your dreams because they've learned not to expect answers. Your spouse stops encouraging you because they're tired of watching you shrink. You become a prophet of your own limitations, preaching sermons to yourself about why things won't work, why you're too old, why it's too late. And financially, oh beloved, this is where it gets real. Proverbs 6:10-11 warns us, "A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man." You don't just lose the money you could have made. You lose the compound effect of obedience. You lose the overflow that was supposed to bless your grandchildren. You lose the inheritance that was supposed to break generational curses. I met a man last month, 68 years old, worked at the same factory for 40 years. He told me about an invention he had in his garage in 1987, a simple tool that could have revolutionized his industry. He had the prototype, he had the connections, he had everything except the courage to move. 2 years later, he saw his exact invention on the market, making someone else millions. He looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Pastor, I've been dying for 35 years, one regret at a time." That's what delay costs you. It kills you one regret at a time. But here's the part that's going to shake you to your core. Here's the revelation that God burned into my spirit at 3 a.m. last Tuesday, and I haven't been the same since. Every delay is a yes to something else, sometimes to the very thing you were praying against. Think about that. When you delay stepping into your calling, you're saying yes to mediocrity. When you delay that difficult conversation, you're saying yes to broken relationships. When you delay starting that ministry, that business, that move, you're saying yes to someone else's assignment while yours withers on the vine. Moses delayed at the burning bush with excuse after excuse, and God's anger burned against him. Exodus 4:14 says, "Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses." The calling went to Aaron instead, and Moses spent the rest of his ministry dealing with the complications of his hesitation. Saul delayed obeying God's command to destroy the Amalekites completely. He thought partial obedience was good enough, but that delay, that one moment of hesitation, cost him his kingdom. 1 Samuel 15:26 records Samuel's devastating words, "I will not return with you. You have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel." One delay, one hesitation, everything lost. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there's someone watching who's been circling their promised land for years. You know who you are. You can taste the milk and honey, but you keep finding reasons to send out more spies, to gather more information, to wait for a better time. But time isn't neutral, beloved. Time is either your ally or your enemy, and hesitation turns it into your executioner. I want you to feel this in your bones. Feel the weight of dreams deferred. Feel the ache of assignments unfulfilled. Feel the emptiness of a life half-lived. Because until you feel the full cost of inaction, you'll never pay the price of obedience. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, there's a time for everything under heaven. But what it doesn't tell you is this: some windows only open once. The question burning in heaven right now isn't whether you're capable. God already knows you are, or he wouldn't have chosen you. The question is whether you'll move before your window slams shut forever. So I have to ask you, how much more are you willing to lose before you finally say yes? Listen to me very carefully, beloved. What I'm about to share with you could be the difference between stepping into your promised land or wandering in the wilderness for another 40 years. You see, there are two kinds of time operating in this universe. There's chronos time, that's the clock on your wall, the calendar on your refrigerator, the 60 seconds that tick by every minute whether you're ready or not. But then there's kairos time, God's time, divine time. The moments when heaven's clock perfectly aligns with Earth's circumstances and the impossible becomes inevitable. And right now, you are standing in your kairos moment. Picture this with me. Imagine standing before a massive door made entirely of pure light. This door has been sealed for years, maybe decades, keeping you from everything God promised you: your healing, your breakthrough, your restoration, your purpose. But suddenly, something shifts in the spiritual realm. The door begins to creak open, just wide enough for you to step through. But here's what most people don't understand about divine doors. They don't stay open forever. You can see the light streaming through that crack, calling your name. You can feel the warmth of your destiny on the other side. But with every moment you hesitate, every second you spend calculating and analyzing and overthinking, that door closes a little more. An inch, then a foot. Then, do you feel that grip in your chest right now? That's not anxiety, beloved. That's your spirit, recognizing truth. Think about Queen Esther. She had lived her entire life preparing for a moment she didn't even know was coming. Orphaned, displaced, chosen from obscurity to sit beside the most powerful king on earth. But none of that mattered until her kairos moment arrived, when the very survival of her people hung in the balance. Her uncle Mordecai looked her in the eye and spoke words that still echo through eternity. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this? For such a time as this. Not for such a time as when you feel more prepared. Not for such a time as when you have more money in the bank. Not for such a time as when your children are older, or your health is better, or your circumstances are perfect. For such a time as this. But here's what breaks my heart, and what should terrify you. Esther almost missed it. Do you remember? She said, "I cannot go before the king. It's been 30 days since he called for me. Anyone who approaches the throne without being summoned dies." Sound familiar? How many times have you said, "I can't step out now, God. It's been too long since you spoke to me clearly. What if I'm wrong? What if I fail? What if I die trying?" But Mordecai spoke a word that changed everything. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. Do you hear that? If Esther didn't act in her divine window, God would find someone else. The breakthrough would still happen, but not for her, not through her. She would forfeit her destiny because she missed her timing. How many blessings have you watched God give to someone else because you hesitated when He called your name? I see some of you right now, and the Holy Spirit is showing me your heart. You've been circling the same mountain for years, the same financial struggles, the same relationship patterns, the same health issues, the same unfulfilled dreams, and you keep asking God, when? When will it be my time? But what if I told you that your when was 3 years ago? What if your Kairos moment came and went while you were waiting for a better Kairos moment? What if the miracle you're praying for is trapped on the other side of the obedience you keep postponing? The children of Israel stood at the edge of their promised land for 40 years. 40 years. Do you know why? Not because God wasn't ready, not because the enemy was too strong, but because when their divine window opened, they said, "We need more time to prepare. We need to send in more spies. We need a better plan." And that entire generation died in the wilderness, still clutching their what-if excuses. But their children, oh, their children understood divine timing. When Joshua said, "Today we cross the Jordan," they didn't ask for another committee meeting. They didn't request a feasibility study. They picked up their feet and stepped into a raging river, trusting that God's timing was perfect timing, and the waters parted under their obedience. Right now, I can feel the presence of God in this place, and He's showing me something about you that's going to shake you to your core. Some of you have been asking Him for a sign. God, just give me one more confirmation, one more fleece, one more prophetic word. But what if the sign you're waiting for is the very fact that you're watching this message right now? What if your confirmation is the burning in your chest, the tears in your eyes, the way your spirit is leaping as I speak these words? What if this moment, this very second, is your burning bush? Moses stood before that bush for 40 years of preparation, but the calling came in an instant. One moment he was a shepherd running from his past. The next moment God was saying, "Take off your shoes. You're standing on holy ground. It's time to go back to Egypt." And Moses did exactly what you're doing right now. "But God, I'm not ready. I can't speak well. What if they don't believe me? What if I fail?" But God said something that should make your heart pound. "I am who I am, and I am is sending you. Not I will be when you get your act together. Not I might be if you pray a little harder. I am, present tense. Right now, in this moment. You keep waiting for the perfect moment, but God is saying the perfect moment is now because He is in this moment with you. In just a few minutes, I'm going to tell you the supernatural sign that will confirm beyond any shadow of doubt that you are in your Kairos moment right now. But first, I need you to understand something that could save your destiny. What happens when divine windows close, and why some people spend the rest of their lives knocking on doors that will never open again. You know what nobody tells you about breakthrough? The moment you get closest to your destiny, hell unleashes everything it has to stop you. And right now, if you're feeling like the walls are closing in, if you're sensing opposition from every direction, if every fiber of your being is screaming, "Turn back," congratulations, beloved. You're at the gate. Listen to me carefully. The resistance you're feeling isn't a sign you're going the wrong way. It's confirmation you're going the right way. When Pharaoh's army was chasing the Israelites to the Red Sea, do you think Moses said, "Well, I guess God changed his mind"? No. The pressure meant they were about to witness the impossible. You see, the enemy doesn't waste ammunition on people going nowhere. He doesn't send his best troops to stop someone who's already defeated. But when heaven's chosen one starts moving toward their purpose, when you start taking steps that will shift not just your life, but generations after you, that's when the real battle begins. And that battle is proof of your value. Think about it this way. When a woman is in labor, when does the pain become most intense? In those final moments before the baby crowns. The hardest push comes right before the miracle breaks through. The muscles contract, the pressure builds, everything in her body screams to stop. But every experienced mother will tell you the same thing. When it hurts the most, you're closest to holding your miracle. Right now, you're in spiritual labor. What you've been carrying, what God has been developing in you, is ready to be born. But just like natural birth, the final push is the hardest. The resistance you feel isn't rejection, it's transition. It's the last attempt to keep what's been growing in secret from coming into the light. But here's what I need you to understand about this test. It's not designed to destroy you. It's designed to reveal you. Every chosen one in Scripture faced their greatest opposition right before their greatest victory. David faced Goliath before he became king. Joseph faced the pit and the prison before he ruled Egypt. Daniel faced the lion's den before he became an advisor to kingdoms. The test isn't punishment, it's preparation. And I want to take you to one of the most powerful moments in Scripture, Matthew chapter 14. Peter sees Jesus walking on water in the middle of a storm. Now, here's what most people miss about this story. When Peter first stepped out of that boat, the water held him up. His first steps were steady, his faith was strong, the miracle was working. But then verse 30 tells us something crucial. When he saw the wind, he was afraid. Notice this. The wind came after he stepped out. The opposition showed up after he was already walking in the miraculous. The storm didn't disqualify the miracle. The storm was part of the test. How many of you right now are walking on water, but you're focused on the wind? How many of you have already taken the first steps into your miracle, but now the opposition has you second-guessing everything? You're looking at the bills instead of the breakthrough. You're listening to the doubters instead of the divine. But I need you to hear this with your spirit, not just your ears. Peter didn't sink because the storm was too strong. Peter sank because he took his eyes off Jesus and put them on his circumstances. The wind you're feeling right now, that financial pressure, that family opposition, that internal voice telling you you're too old, too late, too broken, that wind isn't coming to drown you. It's coming to test your focus. Will you keep your eyes on the one who called you out, or will you let the circumstances convince you to sink back into the boat of mediocrity? Because here's what happened next in that story. The moment Peter started to sink, what did Jesus do? He didn't let him drown. He immediately reached out and caught him. Even in Peter's moment of doubt, grace was still there. Mercy was still available. The miracle wasn't cancelled because of the test. But listen to what Jesus said to him. You of little faith, why did you doubt? Not why did you try? Not why did you step out? He asked why he doubted. Because the very fact that Peter had been walking on water proved his faith was real. The test wasn't to prove he couldn't do it. The test was to prove he could. And God is asking you the same question today. Why are you doubting? You've already seen his hand move in your life. You've already witnessed him open doors that no man could shut. You've already experienced provision when your bank account said impossible. You've already felt his presence in your darkest hour. So why, when the final test comes, when you're closer to your breakthrough than you've ever been, why are you doubting now? I'll tell you why. Because the enemy knows something you're forgetting. He knows that if you take this final step, if you push through this final resistance, you won't just change your life. You'll become a testimony that changes other lives. You'll become proof that God still moves. You'll become evidence that faith still works. You'll become dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. That's why the test is so intense right now. That's why every obstacle seems bigger. That's why the opposition feels personal. Because it is personal. Hell has looked at your future and seen what God is about to do through you, and it's terrified. But here's what I need you to declare right now. Type these words in the comments. I will not back down. Say it out loud. Let your neighbors hear it. Let the enemy hear it. Let heaven hear it. I will not back down, because the darkest hour is just before dawn, and your dawn is breaking right now. So the question isn't whether you'll face opposition. The question is, will you let the test become your testimony, or will you let it become your tombstone? You've been waiting for this moment. You've endured the warnings, felt the conviction, wrestled with the fear. Now, it's time to open the sealed envelope from heaven, the final step that changes everything. But before I reveal it, I need you to understand something that's going to cut deep. The step isn't something new. It's not some mystical formula or secret ritual you've never heard of. The final step is acting on the instruction God already gave you that you've been postponing. Let that sink in. Right now, sitting where you are, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That nudge you felt 6 months ago, that dream that woke you up at 3 a.m., that verse that jumped off the page and grabbed your heart, that door of opportunity that's still cracked open, waiting for you to walk through it. You've been asking God for a sign, begging Him for clarity, pleading for direction. But beloved, He already spoke. The problem isn't that God is silent. The problem is that you've been negotiating with His voice instead of obeying it. Listen to me carefully. In 1 Samuel 15:22, God declares through the prophet, "To obey is better than sacrifice," not partial obedience, not convenient obedience, not "I'll do it when I feel ready" obedience, complete, immediate, uncomfortable obedience. Because here's the truth that's going to shake you. Partial obedience is still disobedience. You can't give God 80% and expect 100% of His blessing. You can't follow Him halfway and wonder why the breakthrough feels so far away. The Red Sea doesn't part for hesitation. The walls of Jericho don't fall for half-hearted marching. I need to tell you about Margaret, 73 years old, widowed, living on Social Security in Queens. God had been telling her for 2 years to start that prayer group in her apartment building. 2 years, she said, "Lord, I'm too old. I don't know enough. What if nobody comes?" But last Tuesday, after watching a message just like this one, something broke inside her. She walked down to the lobby, put up a simple sign, "Prayer meeting, Tuesday nights, 7 p.m., apartment 4B. That first night, 11 neighbors showed up. 11 broken souls who had been praying for community, for hope, for someone to care. By the 4th week, they had to move to the community room. Margaret called me crying, "Pastor, I wasted 2 years being afraid of what God was calling me to do. 2 years of abundance locked away because she wouldn't take the step." Then there's James, 58, laid off from his job at the factory. God kept impressing on his heart to start that handyman business, to serve the elderly in his neighborhood. For 8 months he said, "Lord, I need more money saved up. I need better tools. I need a business plan." But 3 weeks ago, after his unemployment ran out, he finally stepped out with nothing but a toolbox and faith. He knocked on 5 doors that first day. By the end of the week, he had more work than he could handle. By the end of the month, he had to hire his nephew to help. "I could have been walking in this blessing 8 months ago," he told me, "but I was waiting for perfect conditions instead of trusting God's perfect timing." Do you see the pattern? The blessing was always there, waiting on the other side of obedience. But you've been treating God's instructions like suggestions. You've been putting conditions on His commands. "God, I'll do it when I have more money. I'll do it when I'm feeling stronger. I'll do it when the kids are grown. I'll do it when I'm more prepared." Stop. Just stop. Do you think Moses felt prepared when God told him to confront Pharaoh? Do you think Noah felt ready when God told him to build an ark in the desert? Do you think Mary felt equipped when the angel told her she'd carry the Messiah? Preparation is not a prerequisite for obedience. Obedience is the preparation. God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. But He can't equip you if you won't take the first step into the unknown. Right now, your mind is racing. You're thinking about that thing, that one thing you know He's been telling you to do. Your heart is pounding because you know I'm talking directly to you. You can feel the Holy Spirit stirring in your chest, can't you? That's not anxiety. That's anticipation. That's heaven getting ready to move on your behalf. But I need to warn you about something that's going to try to stop you in the next 24 hours. The enemy is going to send every excuse, every fear, every logical reason why you should wait just a little longer. He's going to remind you of every time you failed, every time you weren't qualified, every time it didn't work out. But here's what he doesn't want you to remember. Obedience unlocks abundance, always, without exception. When you finally say yes to what God has been asking, you don't just receive the blessing, you release it. You become a conduit for heaven's power to flow through. You become living proof that God still moves in the earth through ordinary people who do extraordinary acts of faith. The instruction is burning in your spirit right now. You know what it is. You've known for weeks, maybe months, maybe years. The question isn't what to do. The question is whether you'll finally do it. Because on the other side of your yes is the life you've been praying for. On the other side of your obedience is the breakthrough that's been waiting. On the other side of this step is the version of yourself that you've only dreamed of becoming. But there's something else waiting on the other side that you need to understand. Listen to me, chosen one. What I'm about to paint for you isn't fantasy, it's prophecy. It's the blueprint of what awaits you on the other side of your obedience. On the other side of your yes is the life you've been praying for. Picture this with me. You wake up tomorrow morning, and for the first time in years, you don't feel that crushing weight on your chest. That anxiety that's been your alarm clock for decades. Gone. Instead, you smell something you haven't smelled in so long you'd forgotten it existed. The smell of fresh rain after a drought. Hope. Renewal. The atmosphere around your life has changed because you changed the atmosphere with one act of faith. Your phone rings, and it's not another bill collector. It's opportunity calling your name. That door you've been knocking on for years. It doesn't just crack open, it swings wide, and light floods every dark corner of your circumstances. But here's what's going to shock you most. You're not surprised. Because deep in your spirit, you finally remember what it feels like to walk in divine favor. Do you remember what your laugh used to sound like? Before the heartbreak? Before the financial pressure? Before the doctor's reports and the sleepless nights? That laughter is coming home. I'm talking about the sound that used to fill your house before worry moved in and made itself comfortable. That joy is packed and ready to move back in the moment you step into obedience. Let me tell you about Joseph. Here's a man who went from prison to palace in one day. Not 1 year, one day. Genesis 41 tells us that Pharaoh had Joseph brought from the dungeon, and by evening he was second in command of the most powerful nation on earth. What changed? One moment of divine appointment met one act of obedience. But here's what most people miss about Joseph's story. The promotion didn't happen when his circumstances looked good. It happened when he stopped trying to figure it all out and simply said yes to the moment God presented. 13 years of slavery and imprisonment, erased in 24 hours. Your transformation won't be gradual, beloved. When God moves, He moves suddenly. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 30:5. Your morning is breaking. I see you walking into rooms where you once begged for a seat at the table, and now you own the table. I see checks arriving with your name on them that you didn't even know were coming. I see your children calling you not because they need something, but because they want to spend time with the person you've become. I see your spouse looking at you like they did when you first met, because the person they fell in love with has finally come home. But let me be brutally honest with you. Every day you delay, every hour you hesitate, every minute you spend overthinking God's clear instruction. You're not just postponing your breakthrough, you're watching someone else walk into the blessing that had your name on it. Right now, there's a CEO somewhere making a phone call about a position that could be yours. Right now, there's a real estate deal sitting on someone's desk that could change your family's financial legacy forever. Right now, there's a divine connection walking into a coffee shop 3 blocks from your house, and they have the key to the door you've been trying to open for 20 years. The question is, will you be where God told you to be when these moments arrive? Your transformation isn't just about money, though the financial breakthrough is coming. It's not just about relationships, though the reconciliation is real. It's about becoming the person you were created to be before life beat you down and told you to dream smaller. I'm talking about waking up with purpose burning in your bones again. I'm talking about looking in the mirror and seeing the warrior instead of the victim. I'm talking about your grandchildren asking you to tell them the story of how everything changed, and you get to say, "It all started the day I stopped waiting and started walking." The smell of victory is in the air, but only for those who have the courage to step toward it. On the other side of your obedience is not just a different life. It's the life that's been waiting for you to show up. Joseph didn't just get a job promotion, he became a world changer. Moses didn't just lead people out of slavery, he became the lawgiver for all generations. David didn't just kill a giant, he became the king whose lineage brought forth the Messiah. Your step of obedience isn't just about fixing your problems, it's about fulfilling your destiny. It's about becoming the answer to prayers you don't even know are being prayed. It's about stepping into the reason you were born. But I have to ask you something that's going to disturb your comfortable delay. What if the very thing you're afraid to do is the exact thing God is waiting for you to do before He releases everything else? What if your breakthrough is literally sitting in your obedience to that one instruction you've been avoiding? Listen to me, chosen one. We've reached the moment where everything hangs in the balance. 3 destinies stand before you tonight, and only one leads to the abundance God has prepared for your life. When you say yes to God's voice, when you take that terrifying step He's been whispering about, here's what heaven releases over your life. The floodgates of provision swing wide open, not a trickle, beloved, a flood. Look at Abraham. God said, "Leave everything you know." Abraham packed up, and God made him the father of nations, wealthy beyond measure, blessed in every direction. One step of obedience, one moment of courage, a lifetime of abundance. But here's what nobody tells you about divine obedience. It doesn't just change your bank account, it rewrites your entire bloodline. Your children's children will walk in blessings they never had to pray for because you had the courage to step when it mattered most. Right now, there are contracts with your name on them sitting on desks in offices you've never seen. There are phone calls about to be made that will change everything. There are doors about to swing open that have been locked for years. But here's the key. They only open when you move. The Lord will open to you His good treasure, the heavens, to give the rain to your land in its season and to bless all the work of your hand. Deuteronomy 28:12. Every work of your hand, dear one, every step you take in obedience becomes a magnet for heaven's favor. But what if you don't step? What if you let fear win one more time? Let me paint you a picture that will haunt your sleep if you choose delay over destiny. There's a man I knew, brilliant, anointed, called by God. He heard the voice clearly. Start the ministry, write the book, make the call. But he said, "Next month, Lord, next year, when I'm more ready." 20 years later, he's still waiting, still preparing, still afraid. And last week, he watched someone else walk into the destiny that had his name on it. The Israelites were 11 days from the promised land. 11 days, but they chose fear over faith and wandered 40 years in circles. An entire generation died in the wilderness because they wouldn't take the step when God said step. Here's what keeps me awake at night, beloved. Every day you delay, someone else is getting ready to step into what God had reserved for you. Every week you hesitate, another door closes. Every month you wait, another season passes. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, Hosea 4-6. Not lack of ability, not lack of calling, lack of knowledge about what delay really costs. You think you're being cautious. God calls it disobedience. What if I told you that every blessing you've prayed for is trapped behind the door of the one thing you're afraid to do? What if every miracle you need is waiting on the other side of your obedience? How many more years are you willing to live beneath your destiny because you're too afraid to step? This is it, chosen one. This is the moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready. Right now. You want to know why now? Because God doesn't operate on your timeline. He operates on Kairos time, divine moments when heaven and earth align. Miss the moment, miss the miracle. Jesus walked on water at 3 a.m. in a storm, not at noon on a calm day. God parts Red Seas when your back is against the wall, not when you have other options. Divine timing isn't convenient timing. It's now timing. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Hebrews 3:15. Today, not someday, not eventually. Today, I'm going to tell you something that might offend you, but love demands truth. Every excuse you have for not stepping is an insult to the God who created you for this moment. I'm not qualified, neither was Moses. I'm too old, neither was Sarah. I don't have enough, neither did the widow with 2 coins. God isn't waiting for you to be ready. He's waiting for you to be obedient. There's a difference between preparation and procrastination, and only you know which one you're hiding behind. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there are people praying for the very thing God is calling you to do. There are souls crying out for the message He's placed in your heart. There are problems waiting for the solution He's downloaded into your spirit. You are not an accident. You are not too late. You are not disqualified. But you are running out of time. Before I pray for you, before I release you into your destiny, I need to tell you about the vision God showed me about those who didn't take the step. I saw them standing at the edge of eternity, and Jesus was showing them a movie of their life. But it wasn't the life they lived. It was the life they could have lived, the businesses they could have built, the people they could have touched, the legacy they could have left. And I heard them whisper the 5 most heartbreaking words in the English language. If only I had stepped. Don't let those be your words, beloved. Don't let regret be your final sermon. The window is closing. The train is leaving the station. The door is swinging shut. But for the next few moments, just the next few moments, it's still open. What is God asking you to do that you've been putting off? What call have you been ignoring? What step have you been avoiding? Whatever it is, do it now or lose everything. Beloved, we've reached the moment where everything changes. You've heard the truth. You've felt the fire. You know what God is calling you to do. But knowing and doing are separated by a chasm that has swallowed more destinies than any war, any plague, any tragedy in human history. That chasm is called hesitation. Let me tell you what I see when I look at you right now. I see someone who's been carrying a word from God for months, maybe years. I see someone who's been getting the same confirmation over and over, but you keep asking for one more sign. I see someone who's been standing at the starting line of their miracle, but you've convinced yourself you need more preparation, more money, more time, more certainty. But here's what God showed me about you that will either set you free or terrify you into action. You already have everything you need. You always did. The enemy's greatest weapon isn't poverty, sickness, or opposition. It's the lie that whispers, "Not yet. You're not ready yet." That lie has buried more callings in the cemetery of someday than every demon in hell combined. And right now, as you sit there, that same spirit is working overtime to convince you that this message is for someone else, that your situation is different, that you need to wait just a little longer. Stop. Listen to me. Moses was 80 years old when God called him to deliver Israel. Abraham was 99 when God promised him a son. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain." David was a teenager with a slingshot when he faced Goliath. Age is not your disqualifier. Experience is not your prerequisite. Permission is not your requirement. Your requirement is obedience. Nothing more, nothing less. Do you know what happened to the 10 spies who saw the giants and said, "We can't"? They wandered in the wilderness for 40 years and died there. Their fear became their forecast. Their doubt became their destiny. But Joshua and Caleb, who said, "We can because God said we can," they inherited the promise. Which report are you going to believe today? I need you to understand something that will shake you. Every day you delay, someone else is walking into the blessing that was meant for you. Every week you hesitate, another door closes that will never open again. Every month you wait for perfect conditions, you're telling God that His timing isn't good enough for you. The Israelites stood at the edge of the promised land for 11 days. 11 days. But they turned it into 40 years because they chose fear over faith. Don't you dare let your 11-day journey become a 40-year wandering. Don't you dare let your children and grandchildren inherit your hesitation instead of your breakthrough. What are you waiting for? More money? You serve the God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. More time? You serve the God who stops the sun in the sky. More strength? You serve the God who gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who made the walls of Jericho fall, who raised Jesus from the dead, is saying to you right now, step now. But I see some of you still wrestling with this. You're thinking, but what if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if I'm hearing God wrong? Let me ask you something. What if you succeed? What if you gain everything? What if you're hearing God exactly right? Faith and fear both demand you believe in something you cannot see. The only difference is the outcome. Your ancestors didn't cross oceans, survive persecution, endure hardships, and press through impossibilities so that you could live a life of what if. They pressed through so that you could live a life of what is. They paid the price so that you could claim the promise. Your bloodline is depending on your breakthrough. Your children are waiting for your courage. Your grandchildren are waiting for your obedience. The spirit of delay that has been passed down through your family line stops with you. The cycle of almost but not quite ends with you. The legacy of looking back instead of stepping forward dies with you. You are the generation that breaks the curse and claims the blessing. But you have to move. You have to act. Right now, I want you to close your eyes and pray with me. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel better. Not when you have more clarity. Right now, Father God, I thank you for every person watching this message. I thank you that you didn't allow them to scroll past this word because this is their moment, their time, their divine appointment. Lord, I speak courage into their spirit. I speak clarity into their mind. I speak strength into their body. I command every spirit of delay, every spirit of fear, every spirit of hesitation to be broken off their life right now in the mighty name of Jesus. They will not pass this calling to another generation. Today, right now, in this moment, they step into their Jordan River. They cross over into their promised land. I seal this word over their life. I seal their obedience. I seal their breakthrough. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Now listen to me carefully. If you're ready to step, if you're ready to stop waiting and start walking, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, comment "I step now" below this video. Don't think about it. Don't hesitate. Type it, declare it, release it into the atmosphere. Second, share this message with one person who needs to hear it. Someone who's been waiting, someone who's been hesitating, someone who needs to know that their time is now. Third, subscribe and become part of this chosen one's community. You're not meant to walk this journey alone. You need people who understand your calling, who believe in your destiny, who will encourage you when the enemy tries to make you doubt. The window is open, but it will not stay. Step now. Heaven is watching. Beloved, as we come to the end of this sacred time together, I want you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the storms ahead. First, your delay is not your denial. God's timing is not your timing, but His timing is always perfect. Every closed door has been protecting you from something that wasn't meant for you. Every no has been redirecting you toward a greater yes. Second, your age is not your expiration date. Whether you're 50, 70, or 90, God still has assignments with your name on them. Moses didn't even begin his greatest work until he was 80. Your best days are not behind you. They're being prepared for you. Third, your past mistakes are not your future forecast. The God who turned water into wine, who made beauty from ashes, who brought life from death, is the same God who can turn your mess into your message, your pain into your purpose, your scars into your stars. You are not walking this journey alone. From the moment you woke up this morning until you lay your head down tonight, the Father's eyes are upon you. His angels are encamped around you. His Spirit is interceding for you with groans too deep for words. And right here, in this community of chosen ones, you have brothers and sisters who understand your struggle, who believe in your calling, who will stand with you in prayer when the enemy tries to whisper lies about your worth. But I need to ask you one final question. What will you do with what you've heard today? Will you file this away as another inspiring message, or will you let it become the catalyst for your breakthrough? Will you return to the same patterns that have kept you circling the mountain, or will you finally take the step that breaks you into your promised land? Let me pray over you right now, and I want you to receive this prayer as if I'm standing right there with you, my hand on your shoulder, speaking life into your weary spirit. Father God, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you know their names, you know their struggles, you know their secret tears and silent prayers. Right now, I speak strength into their weakness, hope into their discouragement, and courage into their fear. God, I pray that you would open doors for them that no man can shut. I pray that you would make their crooked places straight and their rough places smooth. Let every mountain of opposition become a molehill under the authority of your name. Let every valley of despair be lifted up by the power of your love. Heal their bodies, Lord. Restore their finances. Reconcile their relationships. Revive their dreams, and give them the supernatural grace to step forward in faith, even when they cannot see the whole staircase. Cover them with your peace that passes understanding. Let them sleep tonight, knowing that their times are in your hands, that their steps are ordered by you, and that you who began a good work in them will be faithful to complete it. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. And please, if this message has touched your soul, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You might be the vessel God uses to reach someone who's been praying for a sign, someone who's been waiting for encouragement, someone who's ready to take their step of faith. Thank you for spending this precious time with me. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what God wanted to pour into you today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and join our family of chosen ones. We're here to walk this journey together, to pray for one another, and to remind each other that our God is faithful. Until we meet again, remember, you are chosen, you are loved, and your breakthrough is closer than you think. Grace and peace be with you, always.